shaor simchati im lo aleh im lo aleh et Yerushalayim arosh simchati arosh simchati arosh simchati Shomeh Shomeh Yisrael Shomeh Shomeh Yisrael Shemo Shalit Yisrael Shemo Shalit Yisrael Be'ayovad 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 Yisrael Haomerim Shema Yisrael Shomeh Shomeh Yisrael Shomeh Shomeh Yisrael Shemo Shalit Yisrael Shemo Shalit Yisrael Be'ayovad 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 Yisrael Haomerim Shema Yisrael Haomerim Shema Yisrael Lord, prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true. With thanksgiving, I'll be a living sanctuary for you. Ve'asuli mikdash ve'shachanti בתוך עם ואנחנו נברך יה מעתה ועד עולם. Lord, prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true. With thanksgiving, I'll be a living sanctuary for you.
Good Shabbos. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
It's so nice to be all together. I would love it. We have a small group on Zoom and a small group here. I would love it. I don't know if everyone knows each other. And so I would love it for us to just introduce ourselves and then we'll continue our service. I'm Josh.
Hi, Josh.
It's nice to meet. Good Shabbos. It's nice to see everyone. Yeah. Maybe we should share. I feel like we should share something, Judd, too. Should we share something?
Yes.
What
Josh, what would you like to share?
I don't know. Oh, maybe why we're grateful for being here. How about that?
Okay.
Okay.
On that note, this is the fellow that taught me the word grateful.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember.
I do. Yeah. You should just start then, Sandy. So you're Sandy. I feel like you're
So
from.
we were here and I didn't know him. Introduced myself. I'm Sandy. I'm Marty. I said, "How are you?" And he said, "I'm grateful." And at the time, I just was recovering from pancreatic cancer.
Ooh, wow.
So it was the right work at the right time.
Wow.
and now prostate cancer. And it's still the right word at the right time.
Still the right word at the right time. Baruch Hashem. Thank you, Sandy. Oh,
Wine cures everything.
wine cures everything. I'm Josh, and I'm grateful that we can have space where we can share from our hearts. Yeah.
I'm Irene,
Hmm.
and I'm grateful that Sandy recovered from pancreatic cancer.
Amen.
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 I'm Mo, and she's my chauffeur.
And you're
Is that
grateful
what
to
you're
have her.
Is that-
You're grateful for
Stuck it.
You know, it's this thing is a microphone to my hearing aids,
And he's very
And-
grateful for that.
and I bought it 4 years ago, and for something small, it's expensive. And I tell people, and this is the truth, that it's the second most important thing that I bought. First was her engagement ring.
Oh, well said. Well said. Beautiful. Thank you, Mo. Gratitude for the things, the tools that we have in our life that allow us to be more present, and for your beloved. That's beautiful. Please,
I'm Marty
yeah.
Coco, and I am grateful that I have this interesting school year to be part of the time here, I would say, but just over the pass in Victor and Driggs. And the other half of my time, I'm still being asked to help out with my first grandchild, she just turned 1.
Mazal tov.
So I'm back down in Utah, and I figure I'm just really good and grateful that I-15 doesn't have any tolls. Just go back and forth. But grateful that even though it seems a little bit odd after retirement, just to do some work here, do some work there, and know that it's not just here, it's here.
Hashem.
For sure.
Oh man. Thank you, Marty. Please.
I'm Allison, and I'm grateful to be here in Wyoming and have the opportunity to spend time with my beautiful aunt and my wonderful cousin.
And I'm Barbara, and I'm from New Jersey,
Oh.
and I am happy to be here with my wonderful, wonderful little sister,
Oh.
and my beautiful daughter Allison,
Oh.
and my terrific nephew.
Wow. Baruch Hashem. Wow, it's so good to. Wow. Wow. Oh, wow.
Are you grateful for anything, Mom?
See?
Do you have any gratefulness you want to share?
Yes. My gratefulness is that you are my son.
Oh,
And
thanks, Mom.
I'm so glad to be here and see you.
Oh, well, I'm glad you're here. Glad you could come.
Baruch Hashem.
Princess Carl.
Carl and Lori, do you want to jump in? Carl, you're muted.
Hi, everyone. I am grateful that my glass furnace is slowly heating up. I've been babying it all day since 6 a.m. and it's on its way up, but it takes several days and I have to monitor it. So I'm home monitoring it, but I'm here with you. Thanks for that.
Carl.
Yes, and I'm grateful to Zoom for allowing us all to be together, and I'm grateful for the full moon tonight, which is pretty spectacular on the horizon, and to my friend Sandy, who instructs me that I have to learn to be grateful for what rises up in the moment, like the moon. And I'm grateful for the capacity to be aware of all the obstacles that separate us from the fullness of the moment.
Baruch Hashem. Good Shabbos, everyone. Leah and Michael, it's so good to see you both. And I just want to pause. Michael, I want to especially welcome you and just say we want to wrap our arms around you as you mourn the loss of your father. And we love you, and we're glad to be able to be here together for Shabbos. In our traditional words, Hamakom yinachem etchem betoch she'ar evedlai yitzon v'Yerushalayim. Michael, Leah, may the Almighty comfort you. May Hakom, may God, may this place, may this community comfort you among the mourners of Zion and Jerusalem. We love you very much. We're here for you. Oh.
Well, I'm glad and I'm grateful to be here with everybody. I'm grateful that my family's here. I'm rich in family right now.
You are. Yeah, you are. Oh, we don't have kids presently with us physically here, but I think we should take a moment and say a blessing for children. Well, that's not true. Judd, your mom's here, and your aunt, and we have parents and kids. So let's take a moment and bless children, and also let's take a moment, and if we don't have our children close by, let's just pause and maybe close our eyes and think about where they are in the world. Mine are dancing, dancing somewhere. So that's what I'm going to hold in my heart. And if we don't have kids, let's think about how we help to raise our kids up in meaningful ways in this community. How important that is for all of us to be involved. There are ancient words that we've been using to bless our children for millennia. May God make our children to be like Ephraim and Manasseh. May God make our children to be like Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah. Yevirechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'chuneka. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. May Adonai bless you and watch over you and protect you. May Adonai shine upon you and be gracious to you. And may the source of all life look towards you and grant you peace.
Adonai vayishmerecha. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'chuneka. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom.
As our tradition is, our minchak, our custom, after everyone lights the Shabbat candles, we can take our hands and we wave them 3 times towards the light and then towards our hearts, towards ourselves, bringing the light, the goodness, the beauty of Shabbat into our hearts, and then we say the blessing for lighting the candles, which enters us into Shabbat. We cover our eyes.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. which is on page 3.
Page 5.
שירו לאדוני, שיר חדש, שירו לאדוני כל הארץ, שירו לאדוני, ברכו שמו, בסרו מיום ליום, ישועתו ספרו לגויים, כבודו בכל העמים, נפלאותיו כי גדול אדוני, ומעולם מאוד נהגו על כל אלוהים, ידי כל אלוהי העמים מללים אדוני, שמיים עשה הון והענק לפניו, עוז ותפארת במקדשו, עבו לאדוני משפחות עמים, עבו לאדוני כבוד ועוז, עבו לאדוני כבוד שמו, זהו מבחר ובו לחץ צבאותיו, ידי שבטנו לאדוני, להדרת קודש פילו מפניו כל הארץ, עמו והגויים אדון המלך, אף תיכון תבל פרטימות ידין, עמים ומשרים ישמחו השמיים, ותגל הארץ נירם הים. לך לך דודי, לקט קלה, פני פני שבת נקבלה. לך לך דודי, לקט קלה, פני פני שבת נקבלה. שמול וזכור בדיבור אחד, השמיענו ערב מיוחד, אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, ושמו תפארת וניתי לה 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 לך דודי, לקראת קלה, פני פני שבת נקבלה. לך לך דודי, לקראת קלה, פני פני שבת נקבלה. לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה, כי מקור הברכה מראש מקדם נסוכה. סוף מעשר במחשבתי לה 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 לה. לך דודי, לקראת קלה, פני פני שבת נקבלה. לך לך דודי, לקראת קלה, פני פני שבת נקבלה. התעוררי, התעוררי, כי באורך קומי אורי, אורי אורי, שיר דברי, כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה לה 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 לה. לך דודי, לקראת קלה, פני פני שבת נקבלה. לך לך דודי, לקראת קלה, פני פני שבת נקבלה. בואי ושלום אל תגבלה, גם בשמחה ובצרה, תחמוני עם סגולה, בואי חלה בואי חלה. לך לך דודי, לקראת פני פני שבת נקבלה. לך לך דודי, לקראת קלה, פני פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי, לקראת קלה, פני פני שבת נקבלה. לך לך דודי, לקראת קלה, פני פני שבת נקבלה. Let's stay standing for the Baruch Hu, which is on page 16. And you don't have to stand if you don't feel like standing, but that's what we traditionally do. Carl, please help us out with Ma'ariv Aravim.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר בדברו מעריב ערבי, בחוכמה פותח שעורים, ובתבונה משנה עתים, מחליף את הזמנים, ומסדר את הכוכבים, ומשמרותיהם ברקיע כרצונו, בורא יום ולילה. גולה לו מפני חושך וחושך מפני אור, ומעביר יום ומביא לילה, ומבדיל בין יום ובין לילה, אדוני צבאות שמו.
אל חי וקיים, תמיד ימלוך עלינו לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני, המאריך והאביב. We're on page 17. Would someone like to read the English of Your Love is Eternal? Marty.
All the way down now?
Yeah.
Your love is eternal.
Yeah.
With eternal love, you have loved the house of Israel, your people. Torah and mitzvot, laws and statutes, you taught us. Therefore, Adonai our God, when we lie down and when we arise, we will discuss your laws and rejoice in the words of your Torah and in your mitzvot forever and ever, because they are our life and the length of our days, and on them we will meditate day and night. Never take away your love from us. Blessed are you, Adonai, lover of your people, Israel.
כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו, ובהם נגה יומם ולילה, יבטך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני, אוהב עמו ישראל. שמע ישראל, אדוני Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed. Page 18. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשבחך ובקומך, וקשתם לאות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובישעריך. והיה אם שמוע תשמע אל מצותי אשר Page 20. למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם אלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת. page 21. Page 22. Sukat shalom hashkivenu sukat shalom sukat shalom hashkivenu Let's rise if you are able for the Chatzi Kaddish on page 24. Yitkadav yikadash me'raba Yamadibrach yutev yamlich machute B'chayechon v'yom echon Uvkayet echol bet Yisrael Bagala bagala Uvizman kaviv v'mabu amen Yesh me'raba mevarach Ve'lamulad me'almaya Yitbarach, Yitbarach, V'yishtabach V'yipar v'yitoma v'yinaseh V'yitadar, v'yitaleh, v'yithalal Shemed kudesha b'rehu Le'ela min kol birchata V'shirata Tushbechata v'nechemata Damiran be'alma Page 25. We sing a prayer to ask God to help us make a good prayer, and then we pray silently. Na, 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 na. Na one. Adonai Tzuli, Adonai Tzuli, Adonai Tzuli, Ve'koali, Adonai Tzuli, Adonai Tzuli, Adonai Tzuli, Ve'koali, Yeheyu Ratzon, Emefi, Ve'gion libi lefanecha, Yeheyu Ratzon, Emefi, Ve'gion libi lefanecha. Adonai Tzuli, Adonai Tzuli, Adonai Tzuli, Ve'koali, Adonai Tzuli, Adonai Tzuli, Adonai Tzuli, Ve'koali. Ana Elna, Ana Elna, Ana Elna, Lefana la, Ana Elna, Ana Elna, Ana Elna, Lefana la, Ana Elna, Ana Elna, Ana Elna, Lefana la.
And take a moment to direct our minds, our hearts, our energy towards those in need of healing. And I invite you to share the names of loved ones that you're thinking about if you know they'd be comfortable with their name being shared in public. And then we'll say a Misha Berach, we'll pray for their healing together.
Deb Levin, Richard Brown, Bob Jackson.
My mom, Bracha Bat Rainor V'Leib. My dad, Rachimel Leibish Ben Ethel V'Murth. Devorah Chaya Bat Miriam Betidov. Miriam Bat Shoshana V'Faivel Avram. Rachael Baila Bat Rosa. Gina Sparber. Dan Foreman. Gary Trauner. Becky, Will. Little baby Tali Gerard. Howard Yant. Yehuda Ben Chaim V'Devorah. Francis Schur, Mike Schur. Anyone in our Zumagog would like to share any names?
בוני מספר לכוכבים, לעולם שמות יקרא. Healer of the broken-hearted, binder of their wounds, counter of uncountable stars. You know where they are. Hallelujah. Healer of the broken-hearted, binder of our wounds, counter of uncountable stars. You know who we are.
I had this, Judd and I had this interesting awareness. We had a really beautiful conversation 2 weeks ago because I showed up to Shabbat and Judd had basically lost his voice and I had a migraine. and so Judd was singing super softly and I had my eyes closed during most of the service. And then when I was giving a teaching, I had my eyes closed for most of giving the teaching. And it was Judd and I were reflecting on how it was like a really beautiful, it felt like a really beautiful Shabbat. I mean, I didn't love having a headache, but it slowed me down and it took me away from paper and just brought me to a sense of presence. And so I'm going to try to do that. Well, I'm not going to try to have a migraine, but I'm going to try to be a bit even more present with what's in my heart and with what's in my mind, even though I've prepared a bunch of thoughts, and just share with you what I've been thinking about. And it's rooted, funny enough, it's rooted in where I was last week. So I wasn't here for Shabbos because I was in Indiana. And while one of the reasons why I was in Indiana was for my mother-in-law's 75th birthday, which was such a sweet thing to be with her, I was also there to go to the IU Michigan football game. And it was, for context, my wife is a IU alum, but more so my nephew is a walk-on on the IU football team. And we told him we wanted to try to come to a game at some point, and he's now a junior, and time goes quickly. And so we made the effort. We made the effort to go see the IU Michigan football game. It helps that IU, it was 9-0 at the beginning of the game, and they're ranked 8th in the country, and so it was actually really exciting. And they were playing the defending national champions, Michigan, who they've only beat 3 times in some odd, 40 or 50 some odd years. Spoiler alert, well, not really, because it already happened. They won. They're 10-0 for the first time ever, and they're ranked 5th in the country. And the stands, it was packed. It was sold out, and it was sold out where even the corners of the stadium were sold out. And I got to bring my daughters into this experience, and we gave them IU tattoos and got them sweatshirts. So we did the whole thing. And while we were there, so you can imagine packed, and towels waving, all sorts of stuff. And while we were there, when the twins and I had separate seats for a little bit, and then we were all together, but we turned around, and in the wave of white and red, which is the IU colors, there were 4 blue and yellow Michigan fans right behind us. And it was a really amazing thing. And you guys know me well enough that you know what I probably did, which as I turned around, I was like, "Where are you from?" Like, "Are you from Ann Arbor? Why are you a Michigan fan?" and so we started talking, and we ended up going back and forth most of the first half while we were in those seats. And it was really sweet to learn, like, this one guy, he goes to all the home games and one Big Ten game away every year, and he was really just a lovely human. And it was nice to be able to make that connection. Okay, so that was what I was doing during Shabbos last week. This all has to do with a Jewish point, I promise.
That's the game was Friday.
The game was Saturday morning. Saturday afternoon. So there was Havdalah in the middle of the game. Let's just say that. They didn't do Havdalah, but Havdalah occurred. And then this morning during our morning prayers, Jeff was on, and he was telling me that he and Andrew are going to go to a football game together. Some of you might know these guys, members of our community. They're going to go to a Bears-Packers game. And this is a big deal. It's happening this weekend, and it's a big deal because Jeff is from Chicago and Andrew grew up in Wisconsin. Jeff's a Bears fan and Andrew's a Packers fan. And they're going to sit together at the Bears in Bears Stadium, and they're going to watch the game, right? And they joke that they're going to have Andrew sneak in wearing Chicago gear, and only once he's in can he actually wear his Packers gear, right? And I was reflecting on this of how important both of those examples are right now in our world.
Yeah.
That we can have a Packers fan and a Chicago Bears fan sitting next to each other and be in deep friendship and love each other, recognizing that at some point in that moment, one of them at the end of that game is going to be sad and the other is going to be ecstatic.
Yeah.
Right? How powerful it is to recognize that in the sea of red and white, I can turn around and shake the hand of someone wearing blue and gold, right? And I think we live in a divisive time. We live in a politically divisive time. We live in a time where it's so easy to see someone's difference from us and have that be a point of separation. And what I've always loved about this community is we can sit side by side with each other and not have any idea of someone's politics, or not have any idea if they're a Bears fan or a Packers fan, or their viewpoints on certain things that we might hold dear, and we can build a meaningful, loving relationship rooted in community. And I think that is such a beautiful thing, so desperately needed in our world today. And interestingly enough, it's also directly related to this week's Parsha. So this week's Parsha is Vayere, and we're in the beginning of the book of Genesis, and we're telling Abraham and Sarah's story. And Abraham and Sarah, they're our matriarch and patriarch. They're the great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandfathers and grandmothers of not only Judaism, but Abraham of all monotheistic religions. Right?
Egypt, 400 years earlier.
Of all monotheistic religions.
No, it was monotheistic.
Of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. Yeah.
I'll buy that.
Of billions of people on the earth today. They're our ancestors, right? And what they might be best known for, I would argue, is their hospitality and loving strangers. We talk about Abraham and Sarah's open tent, right? And it comes from this week's Parsha. It comes from this week's story. So what happens in this week's story is Abraham is sitting outside his home, his tent. You guys know this story? It's mamash amazing. And 3 strangers, three people, show up. Abraham has no idea who these people are. And this is what we read. Looking up, he saw 3 figures standing near him. Perceiving this, he ran from the entrance of the tent to greet them, bowing to the ground. He said, "My lords, if it please you, do not go on past your servant. Let a little water be brought, bathe your feet and recline under the tree. and let me fetch a morsel of bread that you may refresh yourselves. Then go on, seeing that you have come your servant's way. They replied, do as you have said. Abraham hastened into the tent to Sarah and said, quick, 3 seahs of choice flour, knead and make cakes. And then Abraham ran to the herd and took a calf, tender and choice, and gave it to the servant boy who hastened to prepare it. He took the curds and milk and the calf that had been prepared and set these before them, and he waited on them under the tree as they ate.
Wow.
Ah!
Who were they?
So this is what's the amazing story, right? Who were these people? They were strangers, but the Midrash and our sages suggest that these were angels.
Well, there must have been something about him that he did this.
So this is like, Sandy, that's like the essential question that we ask. Is there something special that he did this? Or is this how Abraham and Sarah show up for whomever approaches their home?
Hard to believe.
Hard to believe, but this is the story that we read, right? They're framed not as any, the story doesn't suggest that they are, that they're anyone that he might know. It says, there stood 3 figures, right? And this is how they respond. The story gets even better because our sages suggest that Abraham gets circumcised later in life, and this is right after his circumcision. So imagine someone's recovering from surgery, and that's how they respond. That surgery in particular, right? And it's not just that he is hospitable, but the language is he runs. And he offers water, and what does he bring? Bread, calf, milk. He killed a cow, I know. We have to grapple with that one.
Doesn't seem like a very kosher meal.
Doesn't seem like a very kosher meal. Well, this predates kosher law.
Okay.
This predates kosher law. But I think, listen, I want to hear people's thoughts, but I think this story is so beautiful and such an important lesson for us. Is that when we see someone who we don't know or someone who may be different, what's our opportunity to create a bond, to create a loving connection? And I think Abraham and Sarah, I think, give us an example of what is, and maybe it's the far extreme of the example, but an example of what is possible for how we can welcome people into our tent, into our homes, and into our lives across difference. I'd love to hear people's thoughts. This is what I've been thinking about. Football and the Bears and the Packers and the IU in Michigan and a divisive world in which we live and the story that Abraham might be teaching us and Sarah might be teaching us today. Thoughts? Reflections?
I'll sing you a song.
No, maybe this isn't.
The Lord made Adam, the Lord made Eve. He made them both a little bit naive. They lived as free as the summer breeze, without pajamas and without chemise, until they stumbled on the apple trees. Then she looked at him, and he looked at her, and they knew immediately what the world was for. He said, give me my cane. She said, give me my hat. The time has come to begin the begat. So they begat Cain, and they begat Abel, who begat the rabble at the Tower of Babel. They begat the cones, they begat O'Rourke's. They begat the people what believed in storks. Lordy, Lordy, how they begat. Even more than that, Laps and Lithuanians begat. Scranton, Pennsylvanians begat. So bless them all who go to bed and heed the call of the begat. Now, this isn't quite what you were talking about, but this is a song from a 1957 Broadway show, and to have this kind of thing appear on Broadway, which is telling you about people in the good part
Yeah.
of how they function in life.
Yeah.
As I say, it isn't exactly where you were coming from,
Yeah.
but I thought you'd get a kick out of it because this is a Broadway show.
Yeah.
And who would ever think you'd hear something like this?
Beautiful.
And particularly back in the 1950s.
Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful, Mo. Thank you. Kol hakavod. Yeah. Yeah. Other thoughts? Yeah, Irene.
My grandmother, I'm told, during the Depression, people would come to the back door
Mm.
and they would knock and she would bring them into her house and feed them.
Wow.
And I don't know if we could do that today.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyone that needed food, she would feed them.
Wow.
Yeah.
My father's parents, who were killed in the Holocaust, I never met them.
Mm.
When the pogroms would come through, they were tenants. And my grandfather was a rabbi.
Mm.
They were tenants, and at that point, well, he was already a rabbi, and the women wore these big round skirts, and they hid my grandfather and grandmother's family in the house, but she hid him under her skirt.
Wow.
She was sitting in a chair, and she wasn't Jewish, right? Sitting in a chair, and he got under her skirt.
Wow. Wow, Sandy.
Pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Very awesome.
Wow. Other folks? Anyone in Zoomagog want to chime in? Leah, yeah.
Is this the portion that speaks about opening my hand to the stranger, or is that regarding maybe more charitable than like day-to-day interaction?
Yeah, beautiful. So like what we have weaved throughout is this narrative that we see throughout Torah multiple times, and I can't remember how many times, but it's multiple, which is love the stranger, right? And this narrative is weaved throughout Torah. I think that's what you're talking about, yeah?
Yeah, we used to read Rabbi Telushkin every night, the one paragraph every night. And so that's how my son learned, thou shalt open thy hand. And then we have a charitable organization here called Project Open Hand. And he ended up making that his mitzvah project for his bar mitzvah because we had studied Rabbi Telushkin's weekly. So I just didn't know which parsha that was. I was trying to remember. But
that's a good question, Leah. I would have to do a little digging, or if anyone else knows. But you're referring to a specific verse that talks about opening our hands, and I don't know if it's from this direct parsha and from this story in particular. But I'll go back into it tomorrow during Torah study and see if we can find it, and I'll let you know if that's the case, or if you find it. If you go back to Telushkin, will you let me know?
I was gonna go grab the book.
I was gonna say, would you? Yeah, would you? Yeah.
But like you said, it's probably woven throughout our history, our teachings, or it may not be just one place.
Yeah, beautiful. Carl, were you gonna chime in?
Oh, just briefly, the lesson that three human visitors might actually be angels. One of the angels might actually be God. And so things are more fluid than we think. You never know really who you're addressing. And I try to keep this in mind, but it's very difficult to be equal to this insight in our world with so many tensions and so much fear. It's very difficult. That's a problem I can't imagine solving. I love the sense of fluidity in this story.
Yeah, beautiful.
It's interesting because, I mean, for humans, strangers always represent danger, right? It's like, and so there's a natural distrust of strangers. It could bring disease or war. It could, and throughout Torah, there's times where we react really poorly to strangers, right? And then there's a woven in is this idea that the stranger could be an angel, or could be God, or could be something bringing something good, and that is a real advance in humanity and dealing with each other, because we recognize now that strangers can be dangerous, but they can also be, we can learn from them and trade with them and share and advance civilization by learning and interacting with strangers. And that's interesting that the seed of that is in our.
But the
book.
idea that God is both good and evil in this situation is a good argument for polytheism,
Okay.
which I believe in.
So, like that there's a good God and a bad God?
Well, there are many gods, and you can explain why one God would say, take your son up to the mountain and sacrifice him, or put your son on a cross and kill him, and another God doesn't do that. It's very hard to explain how one God would do that. It's easy if you believe in polytheism.
Well, the tricky part of polytheism is it's something binds it all together. That there always seems to be to me, there always seems to be a unity at the transcendent level of everything. And so the idea of a whole bunch of arguing gods like in Greece or Roman is, it seems like they're more aspects of one God. But you can go with it if you want.
Let's bring Carl into this. He's the expert on this.
Carl knows nothing about theology. I don't know what
I was just going to applaud what Judd said, that a committee of gods, if you've ever been on a committee, would quarrel too much to create a world as intricate as ours. It's very hard to conceive, and so we have the idea of many divine powers and divine dimensions, just what Judd is saying. But there has to be some overarching one, and that's the one that we try to find when we come together and pray, and it encompasses all the others.
But at least you're admitting to others. That's a major step that I've brought you on.
Sandy, you're bringing up and I appreciate it, right, so much, these existential questions, right? Because at the root of your question is is this wondering, if as I'm interpreting it, right, this wondering of like, how do we make sense of our theology and our belief in God when we see both beauty in the world, but also heartache and pain and challenge, right?
How do we make sense?
How do we make sense, right?
The answer to that is let it be, let it be.
And well, so
when I find myself in times of trouble, Mother Mary comforts me, speaking words of wisdom.
let it be,
Let it be,
let it be.
let it be, let it be. There will be an answer, let it be.
So we can turn on my phone.
Yeah. Well, I love that. Back to your original thought about football games. To me, these sporting events are like the quintessential example of how to live in a community, even though you disagree, and how important it is. Because if you don't have two teams that are competing and fighting, you don't have the amazing thing of sport and excitement and achievement and so it has to be that way. But how do we do that within the bounds of one community?
You mentioned political. Look at our friendship. We're very different politically.
Did we
At least
disagree?
nationally. At least nationally.
Of course. And I just love at football games how when you're in a big row and the guy's selling hot dogs at one end and you take your money and you pass it down and all these people you don't know, some are rich, some are poor, some agree with you about politics, some don't, and you pass it all down and then the hot dog comes back and the money got where it was going and the hot dog, because there's a trust, right? And it's really beautiful, I think.
you know, the lived structure of this, our oral Torah, the Talmud, right, has taken machloket, which is machloket l'shem shemayim, which is disagreement for the sake of heaven, right? It's our ability to see difference and really disagree for a greater purpose. And it's codified and maintained those arguments. Now, for purposes of figuring out how we might choose to live in certain ways, we typically have one of those arguments that becomes our minhag or our custom. But literally, if you go into the Talmud, you look at two different people, or two different arguments. And the greatest example that I love of this is Beit Shammai and Beit Hillel. Right? These are two of our greatest sages. Beit Hillel typically wins out in terms of what minhag looks like, but they're both codified in the Talmud. And these were like warring houses, not in terms of violence, but in terms of ideas, fundamentally different ideas on everything big and small. And their kids got married to each other. They were in relationship. And this is in our holiest of text.
I want to pick up on the word that Judd just used, which is not, I'm not going to tie it to what we're talking about. Trust. It's so important, and in my view, the essence of how relationships must work. And so many different kinds of trust. Vincent, Susan's son, who you know was killed in Iraq, was a Marine, and he would talk about with his fellow Marines who go out on ships 6 months every 2 years, that could he trust, and he didn't have one, but if he did, could he trust his wife or girlfriend not to pick up with one of the other Marines, or vice versa? Would they not hit on his wife? Could he loan money to one of his fellow Marines and expect to get it back? Many other examples. But could he trust in war that they would be there? And he could. He felt he could.
I'm going to tell a story that I told the other night and I hadn't told in a long time. My dad was in the wholesale and retail automotive parts business. And from the time I was 5 years old, I worked for him on Saturday mornings. I'd get a quarter when I was 5 years old for putting away parts by number. But when I was 14, he dropped me off at a branch store that was across the street from the Black Ghetto. Now, I said Black Ghetto, not African American. That term hadn't been coined. And we grew up afraid of blacks. We're in a neighborhood a mile away. I mean, real fear. And so I show up at the store on Saturday morning. I'm going to work from 8 to 5. My dad picked me up. And the store was run by a 55-year-old Jewish man, Joe Cutler, whom I had known my whole life. A really nice guy. And I show up, and the first thing he has me do is put away all the heavy parts that arrived on Thursday, mufflers, tailpipes, doing all this physical work for an hour and a half. Then he gives me a couple bucks and sends me up the road to a Greasy Spoon to buy ourselves fried egg sandwiches and coffee. And then I come back to the store, and we're sitting at the counter, and in between customers, he tells me what my job is. And this is sort of surprising to me, telling me what my job is. I thought I'm just going to work in the store. And he said, and all our customers were black. We might have had one or two who weren't. He said, your job is to become friends with our customers. You can imagine what my thoughts were at that time. But I knew, liked, and respected Joe, and so that's exactly what I tried to do, was become friends with these black people. And after a year or two, they were my friends. And what surprised me was they purposely, many of them, brought their kids to the store to meet me. And think of how touching that is. And so when we raised our kids, we raised them to accept people of all colors as their friends. And to this day, both our son and our daughter have African American close friends. And I never would have believed how I would change. And I've always been thankful to Joe Cutler for changing me.
Beautiful. Thank you, Mo. Thanks for this wonderful conversation, y'all. Thank you.
Let's rise for the Elena on page 41. Elena Shabbat Ladon Hakol Tate Gidula Liotse Bereshit Shabbat Sanagye Haraso Elo Samanu Kishmahot Adama Shabbat Samkakenu Kahen Vegor Aleinu Kehor Amonam ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. והשב אותך אל לבבך כי אדוני הוא האלוהים למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד. We can be seated again. Wonders Kaddish is on page 44. You can do whatever you want, Sarah.
Thank you.
Give you official dispensation.
Kaddish Yatom. Let's take a moment and share the names of our loved ones who we're remembering. And Michael, I'd like to give you space either to share your father's name, or if you'd like me to, I'd be honored to. Whatever you so please. Okay. Herb Axelrod, Michael's father. Today we say Kaddish. We remember Michael, your father. Zichrono levracha. May his memory always be for a blessing. We are also in a period of Shiva for Barb Schaefer's mother, Beverly Schaefer, Bat Sheva, Bat Ruvain. Zichron levracha. May her memory be a blessing. Is anyone else reciting Kaddish for someone today, either in a period of mourning or commemorating a yard site, the anniversary of a loved one's passing, or just we're thinking about someone who is no longer with us and you'd like to share their name?
My uncle Hank Sobel.
Zichrono levracha. We also remember Shelley Gurin, Richie Blasco, Doug Bellis, Deva Zucker, Rosalie Gallagher, and Elizabeth Edelman, all community members or family of community members who are still in a period of mourning. Let's rise, either in mourning or support of those who are. Mourner's Kaddish is on page 44. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbah, ve'alma divra chiruteh, ve'amlich malchuteh, b'chayechon uvyomechon uvchaye dechol Beit Yisrael, ba'agala v'zman kariv ve'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mivarach le'olam olmei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitale v'yitalal shemei dekudasha rechu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata damiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama Rabbah min shamaya v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru amen. Osei shalom b'mromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel ve'imru amen. Osei shalom b'mromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael shalom b'mromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru amen. Ya'aseh shalom shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. 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 Ya'aseh shalom shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael.
Brad, what you got?
Do I have? Torah study. We have Torah study tomorrow.
We do.
For Zoom, 10 a.m. You got a little sneak preview today, but there's more. More to be studied, more to be talked about. Next week we'll have morning prayers with Josh and friends starting at 7 a.m. on Zoom again. That's Monday through Friday. And on Friday, we have our annual Shagiving. Shagiving is Shabbat, Thanksgiving, squash together. It'll be catered. I catered turkey and fixings, but if you'd like to come, please RSVP, sign up online by the 19th, and if you can, bring a Thanksgiving side. We have a Shabbat service and Thanksgiving meal to follow.
Time, place?
Yes, thank you. St. John's Episcopal Church, Hanson Hall.
St. John's Synagogue.
That's right, 6 a.m. or 6 p.m. Don't be there at 6 a.m. 6
Yeah.
p.m. Oh, I'm off script now. Friday, 6 p.m. St. John's, Sugaring. That is the long and the short of it. Thank you all.
All right, please join us in a Kiddush as we prepare for that. On page 49 is Shalom Aleichem, Aleichem Ashalom, Aleichem Elohim Melech, Melechei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Boachem Leshalom. Shalom, everybody.
Shabbat.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'atzavanu, v'shamach kodsho v'ahava u'vatzon, yinkilanu, zikron lema'aseh v'reshit, Yom tehila lemikra kodesh, zecher yitziat Mitzrayim. Kibanu v'chata, yatanu kirashta, mikol ha'amim, v'shabbat kodshecha, v'ahava u'vatzon, hinchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai, mekadesh haShabbat. L'chaim. No little kids for the motzi.
No little kids for the motzi, but we still have bread. So come connect with the bread, or connect with someone who's connecting with the bread. That's our tradition. Yeah. You can touch the bread, or you touch someone who's touching the bread. And you have to connect. Link up, yeah, link up.
Hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. Michelle.
Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom.
Good Shabbos.
You guys, take care. Thanks for joining us.